Good afternoon, and I'd like to welcome you and call to order our Middlesex County Council meeting for Tuesday, November the 23rd. So today marks the last day that I will be in front of you as Warden of Middlesex County, as chairing a county council meeting. And I hope you will indulge me a few minutes of your time as I reflect on the past 2 years. It has been said over and over, who could have predicted when I was first elected in December of 2019 that we would be facing such a time a mere 3 months later? For you around the horseshoe that have been warden, and to the past wardens that have reached out to me from time to time, the common sentiment that has been shared about the feeling of regret of not experiencing a typical wardenship. And while I appreciate the remarks and where they have come from, I have to tell you, I'm okay with it not being a typical wardenship. While I would not wish another pandemic or crisis on any warden to come, leading through this time has been both personally challenging and gratifying. I have been beyond proud of the work that we at the county have accomplished during my term. And as I've noted many times from the outside looking in, work never stopped and we continued on. Our employees rose to the challenge of working from home for those whose jobs allowed it. And of course, working from home brought unique demands. We couldn't have done it without our stellar IT department. I do want to acknowledge our team at Strathmere Lodge. There is no question that in the early days, long-term care was the face of the pandemic, and it was incredibly stressful times for everyone, residents, families, and of course, our staff. To this day, we are still experiencing the effects of burnout and exhaustion. I want to extend to Brent and his group that it never went unnoticed. If you work in long-term care, you have a calling that many of us don't have, and you certainly showed us why you work where you do. Thank you. To our Middlesex London paramedics, you became an integral part of the COVID-19 response. The bus sure came in handy when you brought testing and swabbing out to the communities across Middlesex. And of course, I don't have to remind anyone of how involved you were with vaccinations. Paramedics were part of the mass vaccination clinics, but most importantly, the team bought into this idea of mine when I approached them asking, how could we be part of bringing vaccinations to people? Without a waiver, MLPS supported my idea, and I couldn't be prouder of the clinics that were hosted in our communities and the many workplaces across the county and the city. Every department experienced its own challenges, and I can't speak to all of them, but our staff should know that the work put into everything you faced and everything that was asked of you was appreciated by all of council. I am proud of the work that was done in economic development, highlighting all that Middlesex has to offer. In social services, creative ideas came to the table, supporting our most vulnerable during these times. I think that this council will go down as a council of strategic planning. The work we accomplished with many departments put us on a path for great work to continue. And I can't let the work of the Women's Caucus go unmentioned. I am so excited with the connections we are making across the county. We will continue to advocate for the issues facing rural women and families, and I know we will see results because of this work. I can't thank our male colleagues around the horseshoe enough for your unanimous support of this initiative. I want to take this time to thank all of our senior department staff. You are incredible ambassadors for Middlesex, and I know with all of you at the helm, we will continue to move Middlesex forward. Bill, it has been quite a ride, and I would dare say that we have both learned and grown with having worked with each other as we have. Thank you for always putting Middlesex first. And to all of you around the horseshoe, how fortunate am I to work with all of you? You lead in your communities and continue to inspire me with your passion for our Middlesex. I have faith in every one of you and know that Middlesex is on the map because of you and your commitment. So what have I learned from all of this? Well, first of all, I've learned that when things seem so big and unsurmountable, when you have a team, the work doesn't seem nearly as daunting. I have learned when you have thought things couldn't be, well, actually, when they have to be, they will be. And when you have incredible employees, you can accomplish much. I have also learned a little bit more about leadership. I have had many conversations with my brother during this time. He is the one person who I can banter back and forth with, who I use as a ranting, I should say sounding board. He shared with me a scene from The Sopranos between Tony and his most loyal confidant, Silvio. And the scene has Silvio challenging Tony on his decision-making. Silvio is saying, Tony is acting out of pride, to which Tony replies, what do you know about it? Tony reminds him that in making decisions, he is responsible for all the decisions and how he has to think about how one decision affects everything else, that he is in charge, and in the end, he is alone with his decision. I've gone back to watch that scene many times since David shared it with me, and I am fascinated by it. There is so much to take away from it, and this is what I have taken from it. As leaders, yes, we are ultimately responsible, but we cannot be alone in our decision-making. We must be mindful that in leadership, decisions and paths cannot be forged in isolation. In determining how the effects of a certain decision will filter down, we have to have voices at the table, and we have to park our ego at the door, especially during times of crisis. If pride ever gets in the way, judgment is clouded, and the very reason we find ourselves at this table will have been lost. I am proud of the table here at Middlesex, and I have every optimism that the future is bright for our community. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to serve it as I have. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we'll move into the business arising from the minutes. I haven't been told that there was any business arising, but did council want to pull anything from our meeting from November 9th? We have the minutes of 2 sessions on November 9th from our regular council meeting and then from our visioning session of County Council on November 9th. So if there's nothing to be amended, I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve those as presented. Councillor Richards and Councillor Warwick. All opposed? And that's carried. We have no deputations today. Any inquiries or notices of motion? Okay, no reports, so we'll move into the new business, and I'm going to ask our chief, Neil Roberts, to present the EMS Offload Delay Nurse Program update. So Neil, I saw you earlier, now I can't see you. Is he on? Oh, he must have jumped off, or we must have lost him. Bill?
He's coming back in right now.
Oh, is he coming back in right now?
Yeah, just 1 second. And there he is. Hi, Neil.
There he is. Good timing. Okay, so Neil, I'll hand it over to you to talk about the Offload Delay Nurse Program.
Thank you, Madam Warden, and through you to members of council. This is a report that comes to council every year regarding the offload nurse agreement that the Middlesex County has with London Health Sciences. So again, this is a contract renewal. The funds have not changed, and as council may recall, the funds are 100% provided by the Ministry of Health. County Legal Services and London Health Sciences Legal Services have jointly reviewed this agreement and have approved the contract that is being presented today. This contract runs from April 1st, 2021 until March 31st, 2022. And so again, the report is for council for consideration and approval. I'll hand it back to you, Madam Warden. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for that, Neil. Any questions of Neil on this? Councillor Brennan.
Yeah, to you, Madam Warden, to Neil. we've heard in the past that a lot of times this offload nurse gets pulled out of that position and, put in other parts of the hospital. And so she's not there a lot of the time, perhaps. Is there something in the contract that we can limit the amount of time she gets pulled out of that job description and put somewhere else in the hospital? And because, if she's not there, then it's not serving the purpose that we intended it to.
Or he.
Yes. Thank you, Councillor.
Or
And through you,
whatever.
Councillor, through you, Warden, to Councillor Brennan. So there is arrangements in the contract for this councillor, and certainly we've been working over the last couple of years with London Health Sciences, who have done a great job in ensuring that this position is priority staffed. So even when they're down or short staffed in the emerge department, the last resort is for them to pull this, as they know it'll have a cascading impact. So for the most part of the last year, and it's always a
I'll just get him to turn his video off,
Video
Warden,
off,
and then
yeah.
we'll just see whether we've lost him here. We might have to come back to your question, John, or I can take a shot at it. Let's come back to this, Warden, if
Okay.
that's okay.
Yep. Okay, so I will park that and we can come back to it and then pass it after Neil answers that and see if there's any other questions from that. That works. So moving on, do we have any councillor comments? Councillor Cornelison.
Thank you, Madam Warden. I wanted to share with what my colleagues on council that we had a meeting with LMCH on November the 18th, at which time we considered a significant project for the regeneration of a number of properties in the City of London. This is a partnership with Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation to the effect of about an investment of just over $40 million. 15 million of that would be a forgivable loan and 28 million coming from the city. This will impact on about 2,082 units, 8 apartment complexes and 5 family sites. I did ask what investment would occur in the county, and the response I got was that they're unable to provide any investment in the county because the specifics of the county properties did not meet the criteria for this investment, which led to my follow-up question. Given that the city is investing a significant amount, what impact would that have on the county's contribution to the housing program? And that question was not answered. So that's all I have for you, but I thought I'd provide you with that update.
Thank you, Adrian. Are there any discussion points that come from that? Anybody want to add? Councillor Vanderheyden.
Well, thank you for that update. I think that's totally unacceptable. Just saying, there has to be a way that we can get funding, since we are also a partner in all of this and we have just as many needs.
I would agree with you. I do understand that that the CEO is meeting with county staff in the next couple of weeks. I don't know what the details of that proposed meeting is, but I just spoke with Paul Chisholm a few moments ago, and he did tell me that he has some scheduled meetings with county staff.
And then I guess I would look to Cindy and your team after those meetings. You can provide us an update as follow-up to that.
Through the warden, I definitely can do that. Dirk and I actually have a meeting coming up with the city.
Okay, great. Good. Okay. Any other comments, either on what Councillor Cornelison brought up or any other councillor comments? Okay, thank you for that. Before we move on, do we want to give the chief try that again? See if that works any better.
I'm back, Madam Warden. I apologize for the internet issues today. So to answer Councillor Brennan's question, LHSC has been very good within the last year and a half in preserving the offload nurse position, even when they're downstaffed in their department. And for the most part, we've seen good compliance on the staffing. And but we still continue to work with Lana Health Sciences to ensure that this position is a priority staff position. So happy to answer any more questions.
I'd just add, Warden, that it's a point of emphasis every time you and I meet with the hospital as well. They understand the importance of that to the broader chain. And I think that importance or that priority hasn't always been placed there, but I think what Neil says is absolutely correct. The emphasis, John, is definitely there now, and that is good news for us.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Brennan. Any other questions on Neil's report or comment? Okay, seeing none, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder for the recommendation that for the recommended motion that's in front of you. Councillor Ropp and Councillor Mayhew. All opposed? And that's carried. Moving on to bylaws, Marcy.
We have number 7140, a bylaw to authorize signing of an agreement for an offload delay nurse program. And bylaw number 7141 to confirm the proceedings of the November 23rd, 2021 meeting of County Council.
Okay. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the first and second reading, please? Councillor Brennan and Councillor DeVitt. All opposed? And that's carried. And for the third and final reading, a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Elliott and Councillor Mayhew. All opposed? And that's carried. Moving into the committee of a whole, we do have a presentation today from Taylor Mooney, the project coordinator for Middlesex County Connect. Taylor, it's great that you're here with us today, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Warden, and through you to Council. I believe Chris is going to pull up the presentation here. Okay, 1 second.
Well, there's actually a security message and it wants me to shut down my Zoom and restart it. So just give me a quick sec. If I do that, it'll drop the meeting. So just give me a sec here.
Okay.
Do you have it available? I can give you co-host if you could share.
Yeah, that's, or you can send it to me, Bales. It's either way.
I can pull it up here.
Sorry about that. Thanks.
We're trying to work all these technical issues out of our system before the inaugural and everything else.
I have it, Chris, if that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, it's
we'll
not
make
going
you
to let me
co-host.
display it without shutting everything down, unfortunately. Thanks.
Can everyone see that? All right, how do I make it full screen here?
Go down to the little presentation thing on the right. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna pull up my notes here. So looking at that quick overview here, I just have a quick presentation here for you today regarding the first sort of year and a bit of the County Connect service. So we'll go over that a bit, talk about some different scenarios that myself, along with Kara and Cindy, have considered for the future of the project. I'll talk a bit about our current project status and ridership statistics, some marketing and communications initiatives, our new advertising kit, and then go into sort of a wider focus of the regional transit initiatives that we are currently looking at and working alongside with some partners in the area. So looking at year one of our operation here, so we did launch in September 2020, operating 2 routes that started with Monday to Friday routes. Route 1 connected Oxford County, Thorndale, and London, and Route 2 connected Dorchester and London. Obviously, this timing was in the middle of the COVID pandemic, which did result in some lower than anticipated ridership for us than was originally anticipated. This also had effects on our marketing efforts that we were allowed to do following provincial guidance of essential travel only. And with that came onboard precautions, including mandatory masks, which is still in place, as well as some different precautions on board. So plexiglass between riders and drivers, and exact change being required on board just to remove any sort of handover of cash at the current time. So that is still ongoing. But with this, we have been doing some obviously continuous monitoring and evaluation of the service moving forward. And a few changes have taken place since that initial launch, which I will go into now. So from September to March 2020, we did take an approach where we maintained the routes that were in place. It was really difficult for us to evaluate the effectiveness and how proper the routes and schedules were for riders during the pandemic, because people weren't operating in a normal sort of climate, for lack of a better word. So we did decide to stick with having our initial routes stay in place. And that was for about, so I guess 7 months of the service. So with that, in April 2021, we did decide to add Route 3, and this came as a reflection of the rider survey that we did after the first few months of service, with riders communicating that they did want to see a weekend route available, and with a focus on leisure and shopping activities. So that Route 3 was added for direct trips between Dorchester and Thorndale and Masonville Mall, providing people with that opportunity to shop both in Temp Center and in London. We have seen a slow uptake of that route over the last couple of months as it's been operating. But again, we're continuously evaluating and do have some increased marketing efforts that will be focused on that Saturday trip to see if that sort of ups the ridership uptake. But if that trend continues, then we'll have to evaluate maybe putting those hours elsewhere or getting that Saturday route to go different places, that sort of thing. So sort of that test and see approach for that. Just this past month in October, we did add Nilestown as a stop on Route 2, traveling from Dorchester to London. That was a feedback that we got from a rider saying that they wanted to travel for school from Nilestown. So we had that option available to them, and it was an easy sort of decision, as Tillsonburg already has a stop in place in Nilestown. So we're just able to pull over on the side of the road for them and stop there. So that was a new stop that was added and has been utilized so far. And again, Route 2 was also extended to finish its run in London at Argyle Mall before it was ending in Dorchester. And again, that was from some rider feedback to the drivers saying that they would like to come into London at the end of the day for work, I believe was their reasoning behind that. So we were able to accommodate that little extension of Route 2 over the past month. So once we get the stats from this month, I'll be interested to see how those two new additions are taking shape. So moving into the future scenario planning, obviously, like I said, we have seen some lower than anticipated ridership over the past the first probably 7 to 10 months, I would say. We have seen growth that I'll show you in the next little bit here. But with this, myself, Kara, and Cindy have had numerous discussions over the last little bit about the future of the service and what it will look like, and some expansion opportunities that we have available to us that involve new innovations and technologies that will make a difference for riders and contribute to the overall viability of the County Connect service. So I'll get into the 3 scenarios here. So those include the Temp Center business route, an electronic payment or app technology, as well as on-demand service. So just moving into the Temp Center business route. So back in June, we did complete a transportation needs assessment survey with businesses from Temp Center. they were able to take part and let us know where they saw our service contributing to addressing their issues and needs for their local businesses and their employees to get them to work, and whether that could be accomplished through future potential enhancements to the transportation program. So we did have responses from 9 Temp Center businesses. And at the time of the survey, the majority of the businesses did indicate to us that they would not be interested in contributing to the financial sustainability of the service because they did not feel at the current time there was a strong need for a dedicated business route. Some of them did note to us that they could, this would assist in getting clients and customers to their business, and others noted that the service at the current time didn't fit their time constraints of us because it's a set schedule, which to us highlighted a need for a more flexible option such as an on-demand responsive service. And with that, the decision from all of that we made back in June was that at this current time, we won't move forward with this dedicated business route and Temp Center, but we are going to continue to monitor and have conversations with businesses as their needs evolve and change throughout the coming months and into the future. So that was the first consideration we made for enhancements of the service. Moving into the electronic payment and app technology. So in May 2021, the Southwest Community Transit Association put out an RFP and invited qualified proponents to submit proposals for the creation of a digital ride booking application or a web portal platform that would assist in the provision of our transportation services. So that included all members, like I said, of the SCT group alongside Middlesex. All of us have the same sort of models in place, and they were deemed insufficient to meet rider and customer service needs. And it was decided that this digital booking platform should be integrated into our services in order for it to be successful and sustainable in the future. In addition, the digital ride platform provides the ability and option to integrate on-demand or flex stop options, which I'll get into is a future consideration for the Middlesex County Connect service on our end. So what sort of came of this whole process over the past 6 months or so, the SCT group did decide on a service provider for the app, and 3 of us started working with them to implement the app. Unfortunately, it came to light in the past couple of weeks, actually, that there was some issues on the app provider's side in terms of production of the app, that they wouldn't be able to properly meet our needs for a fixed route service using the app technology. And unfortunately, we've had to since cut ties with this app provider and are looking at new options. And that will be alongside other SCT members, as well as our service provider, Voyago. So with that being said, we are looking at 2 different options potentially. This one here might be an interim solution. It does have less capabilities of an app, but this gives people an electronic payment system, would provide people with the opportunity to pay on the bus with their debit or credit card, which we know is a big need for the service. Like I said, less capabilities of an app, but gives people the opportunity and the convenience factor that they need in today's digital world. So again, it also is good for the health and safety factor as we continue to move throughout the pandemic with that sort of like touchless cash payment system. This also would allow us an easier integration of demographic specific rates. So it could provide us with the opportunity to tap for a student rate or a senior rate, that sort of thing, which we have heard from the community and our riders that this is something that they would appreciate and would utilize for their purposes. So right now, like I said, we just have cut ties with that app provider. So we're in discussions about looking at different electronic payment systems. Like I said, that could work in the interim. For example, I'm sure you've all seen the Square card readers that we could plug into the iPads that we already have, that would allow people this convenience factor to tap and go and get on the bus. So that's one option that we have. And then, like I said, in the future, we do want to have this app technology in place for our riders. This will provide us with a lot more opportunity, like I said, to have that on-demand type of system or provide flex stops. It creates a much more seamless customer experience where they can track the bus, they can transfer, they can have their payment options online, all of those types of things that people are really looking for in this day and age. And then this will also provide us with much more reporting capabilities in terms of the usage and volume of the stops, who's riding, why they're riding, that all of that important data that we can use to inform the service going forward. So as it stands right now, like I said, we are looking at alternative payment options and or an app option to implement for our fixed route service, keeping in mind the future incorporation of that on-demand piece. We're working with our SCT partners, so both Perth County and Tillsonburg have since pulled out of the app provider that we were going to use as well, unfortunately, but it's a good tight-knit group, and we're all information sharing and working with Boygo to implement something in the coming months. And that's where that part currently stands. As I mentioned, the on-demand service is a really big future consideration for us, and pending the acquisition of that app technology, we will have the capabilities and the technology to do something like this, whether it be in addition to the current fixed routes or as a total replacement to the service as a whole. As I mentioned, it's difficult to evaluate the effectiveness of our current system as it currently stands, but we do know that as it stands right now, we're not seeing a sustainable amount of ridership for something like this, and we do need to test different approaches to ensure the future sustainability of the system as a whole. So this on-demand service, using the app technology, will be able to set up and run and monitor the on-demand service using the platform. We can set different boundaries and service zones that would be able to expand throughout the county where it's needed most, and then riders can track the vehicles, book trips, etc., all using their app, whether that be on a smartphone or online. So again, just highlighting the value add of having this on-demand piece. We can increase our service coverage area. We can increase the efficiency of our schedules and routes. It has been shown that an on-demand system decreased the costs for the passenger as well as our own operating costs. There is always an increase in reliability and on-time performance implementing an on-demand service, as reflected in other models in the area that do use on-demand, as well as increasing our sustainability and reducing the environmental footprint of our service going forward. So looking at ridership stats here. So as I did mention, when we launched in September, we did have quite a low uptake for the first probably 9 or 10 months of the service, as you can see there. It was consistent, but it was low. I'm just trying to pull up my stats here. And we did say that this was largely due to the pandemic restrictions. But with the gradual decrease in pandemic restrictions, decreased rider hesitancy, and increased customer awareness and marketing efforts over the last couple of months, especially in the summer, we have seen a positive growth trend over the last 4 months of operation. October 2021 was our best month so far, with 100 rides taking place across our 3 routes. Just for a little bit of information, the most popular and consistent destination for us so far has been the stop at Fanshawe College, highlighting the need for out-of-town and post-secondary students to get to their classes on a weekly basis. So for example, in October, 40% of riders disembarked at Fanshawe from Route 1, and 30% of riders disembarked at Fanshawe on Route 2. And the majority of riders on Route 1 in the last few months of growth have been traveling from Woodstock and Ingersoll into London using our service. Additionally, the stop at Masonville Mall has seen a steady increase in trips in the last few months. So obviously, as a major hub in the city of London, riders are likely using this stop either to transfer to different LTC lines throughout the city, as well as taking advantage of the numerous amenities and services that are available in that immediate vicinity of Masonville Mall. So with this, we do anticipate that the growth trend will remain steady for us as we continue our ongoing marketing and promotion efforts, and as riders continue to return to their daily life activities following reopening and decreased restrictions. But as always, we continue to monitor and evaluate the routes and stops and make improvements where they're needed. So again, we did increase our marketing efforts through new channels throughout the second half of 2021, so starting this past summer, and we are continuing that now. The reopening from COVID restrictions provide us for the opportunity for a wider dissemination of transit information, and we're making all considerations to focus on our target populations of students, employees, seniors, and lower income individuals. Our marketing and communication strategy has included a variety of different things. So some of you might have heard our radio advertisements that took place in October and September this year. We had those going across 2 different stations for 3 weeks. And we also are going to have a promotional TV campaign using Bell Media stations starting next week that you can look out for, and that will run up until the holiday season that we're excited for. We also launched a promotional video campaign in August, and that was shared widely across social media. And this is the video that will be used for the TV campaign that, time permitting, I'll be able to show you at the end of the presentation here. Following some resident feedback that Councillor Elliott provided to us, we decided that having information brochures at the bus stops and in the local businesses and buildings around the communities is a good marketing strategy for us. So we have started our information brochure, and we'll have those produced in the coming weeks and get those disseminated out into the community. And like I said, at our bus stops on the bus, have them available for whoever might need them, and put them in the right places to reach out to residents and have all the route and schedule information that they need as a hard copy instead of just on the website. So looking forward to doing that. I have been in touch with Fanshawe College regarding promotion specific materials. Like I said, they've been a big draw for us as our most popular stop, so we want to continue marketing there. We will be doing more social media and online campaigns, one coming up for the Christmas season, focusing on that sort of shopping and leisure piece that will be happening soon. We do have some branded promotional materials. So we have some travel mugs that you guys will be getting at the meeting in 2 weeks. So we'll have those for you. And we still have some masks that we've been using for the past year, but we'll continue to look at different materials that we can get our logo and information out there on. And then again, a hard copy piece was, we had an article last month in the Signpost, Dorchester Signpost newspaper, and we will be putting an ad in their next mega paper that goes out to all the residents in the community there. So lots going on in terms of marketing and communications. Like I said, we do equate our increased efforts to that increase in ridership and having the opportunity to promote something that is an essential travel over the last couple of months has been great. Another incorporation that we made is our advertising kit. So we soft launched this in about September timeframe. And this kit is intended to provide local businesses with information about the transportation services, as well as different options for advertising their business using our buses. So we do offer a couple different options, including interior and exterior advertising, as well as bus shelter advertisement space at the Dorchester Flight Exec Center and the Thorndale Lions Community Center stops. So far, the kit has been promoted online. It was included in that Dorchester Signpost article and was sent out in the Middlesex County Business newsletter. Over the last month, we've had multiple inquiries about businesses advertising on the bus, and we will continue our increased marketing of the ad kit, coinciding with the overall increase in promotion over the next couple of months as we work to stabilize that positive ridership growth trend. So some local and regional transit initiatives. I'm sure you're all aware there are numerous transportation discussions and initiatives happening in our region. So for example, the City of London is currently developing a conceptual framework for a hub that would link rail, regional buses, rapid transit, and other mobility options at a single downtown location in London. London is also moving forward with their BRT project that would provide greater transit options and a more efficient ridership experience for Middlesex County rural residents when they are looking at connecting to London's transit system. Additionally, another recently announced initiative involving downtown London is the GO train service extension in southwestern Ontario, with weekday trips between the major cities of London and Toronto. Middlesex County, so myself and Kara recently met with the City of London team to discuss our current project status and ridership and route statistics. And we did have a really positive and open conversation with their group on how these future projects in the city can assist in a better, more efficient and connected delivery of the county's transportation service. So we're really looking forward to seeing how the framework takes shape, and we'll continue discussions with the City of London advocating for expanded connection points for our riders. And as mentioned, these exciting initiatives do bring opportunities for building a strong and connected transportation network in our region. The timing of another recent initiative, so Infrastructure Canada's Rural Transit Solution Fund, ties in well with the county's previously mentioned plans of integrating a more demand-responsive transportation option across Middlesex. Last month, our team submitted an application to this fund, and under the planning and design stream. The purpose of our application is to explore and plan for a demand-responsive transportation system that would be accomplished using a needs assessment study approach that will address the issues, gaps, and opportunities that exist in all of our communities across the county. So more specifically, the purpose will be to collect data at the community level from each lower tier municipality to understand the specific transportation needs of each community, as well as how these needs overlap and can connect with each other and other surrounding areas to support a sustainable and cost-effective transportation system, like I said, that we can expand across the county as a whole. SCORE also submitted a fund application with the intention to complete a service review to maximize the efficiencies and encourage the consolidation of Southwestern Ontario's intercommunity transit systems. So looking forward to the decisions that will be made in the coming months about this fund and how, like I said, how we can better integrate all of our services, not only in our region, but across Southwestern Ontario with the other SCT groups. And then once again, the Ontario government, if you haven't heard, did extend our funding over an additional 2 years until 2025, which we are really happy and excited about. So with this additional funding, we can help ensure that we have additional time to fully establish our transportation services following the COVID-19 recovery period, and builds our transportation service up to a sustainable level, which will better position us to continue operating after the program has completed. So with all that being said, just a quick summary of our next steps here. So now that we've updated council, we can go back to all of our various community partners and discuss these new initiatives. We will continue, like I said, continue marketing in an effort to build brand awareness. And this is always a collaborative approach with our partners and local media. We'll have continuous community engagement efforts and utilize our service evaluation framework to adjust and monitor the service accordingly. We'll continue promoting the advertising opportunities for local businesses using our ad kit that will help to ensure the financial sustainability of the service. Like I said, we're looking at a new electronic or app payment alternative, and we'll begin that implementation phase in the coming months. And then again, once we have that in place, we can explore and plan for an on-demand pilot project and other regional expansion opportunities and collaborations, like I mentioned before. I'm not sure if I play this, I'm not sure.
Not getting any sound on our end.
No, darn. I'm not.
If you provide me with We can send it out to everybody after,
Yeah,
Taylor.
and
It'll be
it's on,
fine.
yeah, it's on our YouTube channel, I think, right, Chris?
I think so, yeah. I can
And
get
it's on the
it to you,
website.
Bill.
So feel free to look at that. It's just a quick 30-second video. And like I said, that's the one that will be going on the TV campaign that you can look for throughout the next couple of weeks on CTV. So with all of that information being said, open to any questions and feedback, but thank you all for your time and for listening.
Warden, we did have a question come in to us about funding and how it works. So maybe we could have Cindy just comment on that before we get to other questions.
Sure.
Just what our funding covers. So Cindy, do you want to just go over that so we can preempt some of those questions?
Yes, through the warden, I guess. So as you remember, our initial funding that we received from the province went until March 2023, and we received that 1.5 million. And then this summer, the funding was extended for another 2 years. So the funding will now go to 2025. So we also did receive additional funding for those 2 years as well. And just recently, we were notified by the province that funding flexibility was in place. So if we didn't spend all of our money by the end of 2023, we're able to use that into the next couple of years.
And Cindy, just comment on what we can spend the money on. It's not just the bus service, it's also the planning and strategy, right?
Correct. It's also some administration cost, it's marketing, it's meeting with our community partners, meeting with the community, doing reviews, consulting, surveys, all of that type of thing can all be covered. And advertising, marketing, if I didn't mention that. So it's very broad. We actually do a budget that we provide to the ministry, and then quarterly we have to update the community transportation grant and update them on how much we've been spending.
Okay, all right, thanks for that, Cindy, and thanks for the presentation, Taylor. And I would encourage everybody to go back and watch that commercial because it is very well done. Councillor Warwick, I see your hand up.
Thank you. Thank you, Taylor, for the presentation. It's always exciting to see those numbers starting to go up, and I commend your group to being very amenable to being able to add these stops for people or the extra time that takes, because I think that's the big key, is listening to what people are asking and being able to provide, because that's the best advertisement, really, isn't it, when you can do that for somebody. Just from our own experience from riding the bus, it was certainly a great experience, and I encourage everyone to try and do that. I know that one of my major anxieties whenever I take the bus is making sure I'm at the right place at the right time and the right way. And that was something that we all thought that the more schedules were available at the stops would be helpful. And that way you can really look at it carefully, because not everybody has great service all the time. And we know that in our rural areas, sometimes it's frustrating. You're trying to get online to see where you're at or what's going on, and that's not always possible. So even though it's sort of a step backwards, I think schedules, in place and paper schedules that are available to people are a good way to go. And I know that the other big anxiety for me was making sure I had the exact change. So when we can get into the electronic payment, I think that's going to make life a lot simpler for everyone. So I think, yes, it's the way to go. And I look forward to see what's going to happen with that. So again, thanks for your presentation, and it's something that it's a work in progress and an exciting one. So thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the presentation that Taylor just gave us? I would echo what Councillor Warwick said. If you've got a day, plan a trip on the bus, because it is amazing what you can do and the communities that you can connect with. And I think everybody knows that Councillor Warwick and Councillor Elliott and I have done a couple of the community trips. We've got one coming up in December, and I know that we're hoping to do one perhaps in the early winter, and maybe head out to the community where the president of FCM lives and maybe have lunch with her to connect those two routes. But if we ride it, you know, Councillor Warwick, she shared her experience of how she felt. We can provide the feedback back to Taylor and her group as to what we're seeing, what we're hearing from people on the bus, because certainly the buses that we've been on, there've been other people, and we've heard their stories, and you know, that all provides the feedback, and it's all very important. So I would encourage you, if you've got a day to set up a ride and experience Middlesex Connect. So thanks for that, Taylor, and good luck. And we'll certainly look forward to future updates.
Thank you.
Okay, I will ask Cindy to unmute and present us the 2022 budget timetable.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted there. Okay, through the Warden, in front of Council today is the 2022 budget schedule. During the week of January 17th to February 18th, the Budget Committee will meet to review the budget. On March 8th, 2022, Council will be presented the 2022 operating and capital budget. These dates are very consistent with what we've had in previous years. At this time, I'm recommending that Council approve the timetable and the members of the Budget Committee as listed in the report. And thanks, and always happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. Any questions on that? It's pretty straightforward, I think. Okay, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder to approve the proposed budget timetable and to appoint the Budget Committee as set out for 2022. Mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor Cornelissen, and the seconder, Councillor Vanderheyden. All opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Okay, Chris is going to be presenting a traffic signal maintenance agreement for 2022 to 2024. So Chris, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Warden. This is a traffic signal agreement for the maintenance of our traffic signal infrastructure across Middlesex County. And we're actually in partnership with Elgin County on this agreement as well. The agreement is attached. You can see this is a renewal of an existing agreement we've had with Guild Electric for the last 3 years. And we're looking at an approximate 4.8% increase year to year, but then held at a very reasonable increase during the term of the agreement at about 1.8% year to year. So I think this is quite a reasonable rate in the renewal of the agreement. This has been vetted by Elgin County. They're in agreement with the renewal. And of course, County Legal and the Clerk's Office have also gone through the agreement. So I am recommending the agreement be approved and be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Chris. Any questions for Chris on this? Okay, then I would ask for a mover and a seconder for the recommended motion in front of you. Councillor DeVitt and Councillor Brennan. All opposed? And that's carried. Moving on to our correspondence and information items. The budget variance report for October 2021, and this is from Cindy. Final approval of Garden Grove Condominium Plan of Condominium. It's file 39T-SC-CDM1909 excuse me, Strathroy Caradoc. Councillor Ropp.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Warden, I'm sorry, I missed on the budget variance.
Oh.
I had a question on that, and that was about Strathmere Lodge. Maybe Brent can help me out. I'm just noticing that I noticed that they did not extend the funding for the extra bed. And I'm just wondering why or what the reasoning is for that, especially at a time when they're always looking for more beds for long-term care. You have an existing building. I just, maybe Brent can fill me in a little bit what that reasoning is.
Yes, through the Warden to Councillor Ropp. I think you're referring to the extra license bed, giving us a total of 161. So that was an emergency bed, if you will, that that later on the ministry decided to cancel the license for. So it was a temporary bed. It was always meant to be a temporary bed. And they just took it away when the demand wasn't there, according to their assessment.
So they're saying it's a lack of demand or lack of need at this time?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
We can share the letter, right, Brent?
Yep.
The communication, I don't know that it will provide you with additional insight, Brian.
Right.
It's a typical provincial letter on this type of thing, but at least that way you'll hear the wording yourself.
Okay,
You'll see
thank
the
you.
wording.
All right, thank you.
Okay, were there any other comments or questions on the budget variance or the Garden Grove condominium final approval? Okay, then I'll move on. 11C3, final approval of 2638477 Ontario Limited, Palumbo Developments, and this is a plan of condominium in Middlesex Centre, file 39T-MC-CDM 1901. Strathmere Lodge Census Report for October 2021. Monthly Board of Health update for October 2021. OEB notice to customers of Enbridge gas rate change for 2022. AMO policy update November 4th, 2021. 2021 to 2022 Invest in Middlesex Business Profile videos, media release. Kara, I don't know if you wanted to speak to this. Certainly, I think the videos were, as always, were great, and it's always wonderful to highlight businesses across our community. So congratulations to you and your team. Was there anything you wanted to add to that?
Just thanks to you, Warden, for taking the time to do the video introduction for the launch. That was wonderfully done, and the businesses that we worked with, I think we're ever so much even more appreciative this year of the opportunity to be profiled given the last year and a half that they have undergone. So we did things a little bit differently with the virtual launch, and then provided each of them with a gift certificate to a local restaurant or catering firm that they were able to host a lunch back at their facilities while watching the video compilation. So watch for those to come out on social media, but they certainly are a part of a brand new Invest in Middlesex website, as well as on YouTube, and many of the businesses are using them already as well. So just thanks to everyone, and the lower tier municipalities have all received a copy of their respective profile as well, so they can use those in any way they deem necessary. So just thanks to everyone for your support.
Great, thanks, Kara. Spotlight on 4 counties' health services, media release. Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder to accept those items for information, please? Councillor Richards and Councillor Elliott. All opposed? And that's carried. Any inquiries? Okay, moving into new business, we do have to go into a closed session to consider labor relations or employee negotiations with respect to a tentative collective agreement. So with that, I will ask for a mover and a seconder to move us into closed session at 1:59 p.m. Councillor Mayhew and Councillor Elliott. All opposed?